Yo. So we're doing an ad hoc questions and answers with myself, Smokey, and the Poon.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. This is a bit impromptu, but a good thing with this stage is that we can be heard all across the venue. So please gather again if you guys have any questions, and we will do our best to answer.
The Poon's been doing an amazing job on this. Like, the production quality is just top-notch, I have to say.
Well, the last show, like the last bit, the last 45 minutes or so were not the best, I have to say. But otherwise, I think this has been the greatest we have ever done. Not perfect in many aspects, but generally not scuffed and pretty smooth. I need to give a really big shout out to the team. Well, of course, the OC5 members that came with me up to here, but also all the stage team members from the COE staff really did an awesome job. And the global COE staff for supporting us in setting up the stage and just handling everything about the event. It has been wonderful this year, I think. It really feels like working in a team.
That's the best feeling, right? When you have a solid team and everyone's there for each other.
Yeah, definitely supporting each other every moment of the week.
Yeah, I think like we have a pretty sizable team behind us these days doing various things, but because it's all online, we're all working in our own little pockets of the community, and you really need events like this to bring everyone together and get this feeling that you're actually working in a team. It's very easy online to lose that.
I definitely agree. And it has been great to see you both again. Well, Smokey for the first time, but yeah, we hadn't met in 4 years, I think. Since 2019, so yeah, it has been great seeing you again.
Same to you.
It's my first COE, but just seeing the production levels and the quality of just everything being done here is superb. That's all I can say.
And same with everyone that's come to this event. Like, I can't thank you on behalf of the COE team, I guess, and on behalf of the OS team. It's just like this game for me has always been about the community. I mean, everyone knows that I'm not good at this game. I play it very casually, like maybe these days 5 or 10 times a year I'll run a multiplayer lobby without announcing it and just play for like 8 hours. But that's the only game time I really get in, because I'm just so focused on running the community and improving the game and the tools around the game for everyone. And yeah, I wasn't even planning to come to this event, but I kind of forced myself because I really like to see the community, meet new people, meet the old people, keep these relationships up, because that's really what OS is to me. Yeah. I get so many emails of people thanking me for the game, and it gets to the point where I hear the same thing again and again, but the thing that really drives me is the connections that people have built in the game, people meeting their significant others, getting involved in the pro scene, forming teams, forming different communities, sub-communities in the game, making their own spin-off like tournaments, people going into streaming. There's so many facets of the community these days, and it's great to see an event like this bring everyone together and just interact with people.
And speaking of interacting with people, I guess we should start getting questions.
Yeah, sounds good.
So who wants to ask a question? Raise your hand, I guess. Oh, the lights on the audience turned off. That's a very bad timing. Oh, that's because of, okay, I get it. That's the display lighting. Okay, well, first one here. Maybe you guys should line up, form a queue or something.
Open the floodgates.
Guys, I pointed the camera at right in front of the ladybug, so you don't need to open the gates. Just the guy asking the question should stand in front of the ladybug. There. Yeah.
Do we have a second microphone?
Yes, we do.
Behind.
No, stay on the floor.
On the floor.
Towards the mic or the audience?
You can ask.
Go for it.
Yeah. So, when are we getting
Walter.
when are we getting multiplayer medals? Like medals you can just get in multiplayer mode or something.
Multiplayer medals, was that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like
so,
medals, but unlocked in multiplayer mode. Like, could that be a thing in the future?
so you're looking for medals which rely on different multiplayer criteria.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something we have discussed. Like, there's a medal committee which has basically been formed, and it's gotten bigger over recent times. As you may have noticed, we've pushed out a lot of medals this last year or so.
Yeah.
It's really good to see because I think medals should be something we constantly provide new ones, keep them fresh. We have been looking at, as you've seen, we've managed to get a few new criteria in there, like expanding the variety of things we can offer. Multiplayer is on our radars. I don't know if we're gonna get it working in stable or make it like laser first, but it'll definitely be something we look at, and not just multiplayer, but also like more medals for mapping and different aspects of the game.
Yeah.
Until now, medals have always been attached to score submission, so it only works when a score is submitted,
Yeah.
which means for multiplayer it kind of doesn't work too well because it's limited to that context.
Of course.
But yeah,
Also, medals for doing stuff on the website. We also discussed that.
All right. Thank you.
yeah, just in general, and especially like to get new players more involved in the game. I think it's good to have medals for, just minor accomplishments, just to give people direction in the community, let them experience things they may not have actually experienced if it wasn't for a medal telling them to do a certain thing. So, yeah.
All right. See. Thank you very much.
Do we currently have a medal for clicking the first circle?
We don't, but that would be a really nice one to have. I mean, you see all these games on Steam these days, and they do things like that. It's like getting achievements for, stupid stuff, but it's fun.
Could name it. You're on your way to becoming an US rhythm game champion. What's the phrase?
Yeah, that's the one. That sounds good. Ephemeral, if you're watching, make it happen. We can already do that one too.
Do you have a timeline or roadmap for when Laser will start to replace OSU for score submission Stable for score submission, and more players will move to Laser than Stable?
A timeline for laser score submission. Since when do we get things online? The testbed setup, the dev.
I think it was about a year ago, before, like right before previous COE, I think. Oh no, right after. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so we set up a development server. What's it called? dev.ppy.sh, which currently houses the laser score submission. So everything's already.
Oh no, laser.ppy.sh.
Laser.ppy.sh, not dev. That's a different one.
Dev is just running on OS Webmaster at all time. It's a different thing. It's staging basically.
Don't go to that one. That's not important. So we've had score submission running on laser, but obviously the important thing is when is it going to be integrated with stable scores, we've had a few community meetings this year focused on that. We're getting close. We're currently in the last stages of, I guess, game balance, making sure that we can turn it on without breaking everything, without needing to reset the scores, without potentially having people setting new scores which can't be balanced against the existing leaderboards. And along with that, there's been a lot of discussions over whether we even need to balance, whether we need both the laser and stable scores to be in the same leaderboard or not. And just, getting a lot of feedback from the community over the direction people want to see the game going, the competitive side of the game going.
And what is your reasoning behind not wanting to allow PP leaderboards? PP leader. What is your reasoning behind not wanting to allow PP leaderboards on maps?
Oh, we are. That's going to be a thing.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I have bugged Fevi endlessly for that, and I've gotten him to agree.
Yeah, I mean,
But not as the primary leaderboard. So there's also going to be the score leaderboard, but there's also going to be a PP leaderboard that you can choose to select.
Thank you.
so, yeah, just to clarify, historically, the reason we haven't done that is because it's very hard to do from an infrastructure perspective. You basically have to, the technical term is you have to make indexes for each each thing you're ordering by. So right now, if we tried to make PP leaderboards, it would take down the servers. It's just so intensive to actually order it in that way. But the way we've implemented the new systems makes it a lot easier to do that. So not just PP, but things like accuracy-based leaderboards, we can do a lot more filtering. So I think it's going to allow a lot more flexibility. And we have already discussed for people that want to see PP leaderboards, you can make it the default. So you'll see that when you go into song select. Yeah.
Thank you.
To give some additional context, when Pepe is speaking of technical limitations, especially on the indexing process, you have to keep in mind OS has billions of scores in the database, and so enabling any kind of new sorting or filtering adds a lot of strain to the database. So and it can challenge the implementation designs that were set in place sometimes up to 15 years ago. So yeah, there's quite some work to do on that front.
Yeah, and to make things like PP sorting working, we've basically re-imported the scores to a different style of database, and that's the only way we can move forward. And that comes with a lot of repercussions, a lot of things to take into consideration. At the same time, we're bringing Laser online, which has a different format for storing the scores. It's got a bit more metadata. It gives us more flexibility in the future. So, yeah, people say that Laser's taking a long time. That it's because we're probably trying to do too much and fix all these issues that have bugged us for the last 15 years. And it's kind of a now or never thing. To a certain degree, we need to make these decisions before going too far. Otherwise, we're just going to be stuck needing to do another rewrite or another refactor in the future and go through all this again. It's easier to just get things in a good state. And also, that the question before that was like, when is Laser score submission going to come online? And we never really answered that. I would say this year. I've already said. I said this year last year, did I?
I think so.
Last year we actually got them online though. It's just like I don't think I ever said we're going to have them fully integrated last year. My goal is to have them fully integrated this year, and I think we can do it.
With enough of the community's input, we can get it online. As Pepe mentioned previously, like all the game-breaking changes, all the mechanical changes, if we can get through those very quickly and figure out what to do with scoring itself, do we want to use Score V2 or do we want to go further into that?
Yeah, we've recently been discussing, because for anyone who isn't following, the pulse of Laser, we recently switched to Score V2 for Laser. We were using a new scoring method, but we basically just said like, fuck it. Like,
we were struggling to balance it, and just a few technical limitations of the algorithm itself meant that it wouldn't reach the nice scores that Score V2 or classic scoring provides.
It just didn't feel good to users, and we were not confident we could actually make it feel good. Like the community was trying to help make this new scoring algorithm work, but at the end of the day, we want to get this live. We want to get Laser out there. We've only heard positive, in the last 6 months, we've only heard positive things about the performance of the game, the feel of the game. Everyone is really happy with it. Like, I mean, the COE tournament, the 1v1 running on Laser, we've had no negative complaints. Not zero, but the one I've heard is something we are aware of and working on, which is audio latency.
What I really want to mention is that since last year, all the game-breaking issues we're encountering in the tournament have been patched. Some of it was performance, which I think Smoogie mostly worked on, and some of it was scoring, which you guys also fixed. So, right now, there's very little holding back from hosting a Laser tournaments. The logistics are still a bit complicated, but it's no longer in that, there's nothing that really entirely compromises it anymore. And it has been a blast winning this tournament on Laser, I would say. It would be hard to do at a bigger scale, but with just 16 players and one match at a time, and even though the tools for it are currently kind of experimental. We have to run a custom build of laser to do the fancy gameplay display. But it's getting there. Like the feeling of getting there is really present during this tournament, I feel, and I think that feeling is shared by the players and spectators alike.
We could talk about this all day, but we should probably move on to the next question.
Yes.
So, please do.
I can imagine why PP leaderboards are difficult, because if you change the PP scoring system, then all the leaderboards would have to change too, probably, yeah. Yeah, that also leads me to my question. It's also about performance points. The thing is, I don't understand is how are you able to determine how much PP a map should give? For example, there are jump maps, there are tag maps, there are stream maps, and right now I've heard that tag doesn't give as much PP, for example, as fast streams on double time hidden, whatever. And so how do you want to balance the program that calculates the PP if, yeah, for example, you don't even play the game yourself? Where do you get your feedback from?
That's a question out of my area of expertise, and to an extent Smoogie, but I think he can answer it better than I can.
Well, you don't really ever determine the difficulty and performance of a B map. Like it's very subjective, and even like what people think is difficult one day changes maybe a year later. So we just have a bunch of community contributors in another Discord server working on star rating and PP themselves, and they contribute changes to us, and we take up and polish their changes and see if the community agrees. I make spreadsheets, and so we can visualize how those numbers change between versions. And
yeah, so I guess they play the game, play the maps, try them out, and then yeah, they give you feedback and you change some numbers in the code, or how does it work?
yeah, for the most part. Or if you're not confident in making those changes yourself, you can play the game and give your feedback to those who are more confident in trying to explain why something is difficult, and hopefully something can happen there.
Yeah. And are there big changes between the PP scoring system of the also we are playing right now and the also laser system? For example, that I don't know, sliders that they that the program looks more at sliders, how they move and how fast they are, or
Yeah, so there's a few
like new mechanics. That's what I mean.
there's a
not
few
different
mechanical
numbers,
changes
but
right now that we've kind of gone back on. Some of them are staying. For example, like slider head accuracy, I think is staying. But there's a few minor differences in sliders and how they are handled, and in Mania as well, I think, which we're trying to nail out. And we've kind of gone back and trying to keep things simple to things that people know from Scobie 2 at least, to try and get it released.
Yeah, to an extent we've dropped our expectations. We've dropped our, how do I even want to put it? Our creativity, our ability to change things. We've just gone back to what we know works, what the community is used to as much as possible. And I think also, you touched on this, but with the changes like the slider accuracy, that is going to have to factor into PP, and I think the team is already looking into that. That is something that will be, obviously it needs a change to PP because it really changes the balance of where the score comes from in the maps.
yeah, I can imagine there's some super hard maps that are only 6-star, for example, and nearly nobody can pass them because the sliders are so crazy.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of people have said that they don't like the slider head accuracy, and especially on certain maps it doesn't play well. So we already have classic mod where you can basically disable it, and that is ranked. We have had discussions over whether classic mod should be applied to all maps before a certain era, and then give like mappers the ability to turn it on or off per map. But we haven't really come to a decision yet. I'm not sure. That's like it adds a bit of complexity, especially from a player's perspective. You need to be aware to an extent of whether you need to care about slider heads or not. So I think we're currently thinking that it should be on for all maps, and the users can turn it off if they want to.
And will the future PP system, will it take into account how hard a map is to read? Because I think that's really hard to grasp for a program.
Hard maps to read.
Yeah, how hard a map is to read, because there are some maps that are, and we see it here in the tournament, there are some maps that are very, very hard because they're so hard to read, because either the patterns are very, very hard, or there's something hidden behind each other. I mean, of course, it's super hard for a program to grasp. You probably would need a KI for that, but I'm not expecting that, but
Yeah,
just curious.
so there's been a little bit of work on that already, especially with hidden and flashlight together. And I think there is more work in that area since. I haven't seen it though. But I know that there's people that are interested in doing that, and that maybe they have already created an algorithm for it.
Okay, so we can maybe expect that even after OSU Laser is out, there will be further PP changes and there further tries to increase what the PP calculation program, what it can do.
Yeah, at some point, because I used to be very involved in the PP process, and you know, Tom94 was involved in the early days, and gradually over time we figured that it takes a lot of work to get PP feeling good, and it takes a lot of being aware of where the community sits on various issues, and you know, the current meta of the game and where the meta should be going. So that's why we kind of pass this off to the community, because I think they're doing a better job, and it gives a more of a democratic approach to the direction of PP. Personally, I do like to see change in systems like PP. I think the meta should change over time. So like the last year or so, we haven't seen any changes in PP, and I think I would prefer to see more frequent changes, but it obviously depends on how many people are actually involved in the process and how much is ending up, you know, accepted by everyone. There needs to be some degree of everyone being on the same page and thinking that this is a good direction to take things. I get like one email a week from someone being like, when is PP going to change again?
It was created, the recent systems were made with the intention that it would change very frequently.
That's good.
So, yeah.
And was there any time a consideration to maybe use a KI program to grasp the difficulty of a map? Because it's coming, like everybody's using KIs right now, and AI, sorry. I'm in German right now. So AI is artificial intelligence, and maybe that's a possibility.
Yeah, as long as the people in control of the AIs are, you know, guiding it correctly, and it's leading to changes which the community can accept, embrace, and I think there's no reason not to give that a try.
We actually just discussed that in the back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
There are
common
people interested in
topic,
doing
so yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's just about exploring all the different options we have available and choosing the best things, and AI is one of the tools you have in your chain these days.
I'm curious about the next updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good questions.
Hello. So my question, you were talking earlier about how the community is important and how it's important to have everyone gather in one place for this kind of event. And I do agree, because for me, this whole community of OSU people is like my second family. So my question is really simple. I brought with me this big flag. Would you agree to sign it as well and join everyone now?
I thought I already did.
You didn't. I didn't.
Oh, I
bring it
signed
yet.
another flag.
Maybe it wasn't mine.
I signed a fake flag, maybe.
You all three are invited
going
to
on?
sign the flag.
Yeah,
if you want.
we can sign the flag.
Of
yeah.
course. Can I?
You want to do it right now? How
Yeah,
about
sure.
we do it after?
I think we should do it afterwards, yeah. If you don't mind staying up a bit longer here.
Of course.
Yeah,
Well,
okay.
Thank you very much. That's the only thing I wanted to say, and thank you for making from a game such an awesome community.
Thank you.
Hello, first of all, thanks Pepi and Smoggy to make the long trip over here to Europe. Okay, sorry. So thank you, first of all, for coming over here, long trip from Japan, joining us. My question is related to bitmaps and bitmap sets. So currently we have certain tags for bitmap sets. For example, you can tag a set as explicit, or for example, a featured artist set. But I would like very much if we could do the same for individual bitmaps within a set. So you could have one difficulty of a set tagged as, for example, featured in OWC or featured in spotlights, for example, because I personally work with spotlights.
I can't catch what you're saying. Can you
Okay.
hold the mic?
Okay. So bitmap sets can be tagged, for example, explicit if the content is, not suitable for kids, or featured artists because the song is from the featured artist list. But I would like to see also individual bitmaps within a set to be able to tag similarly. For example, to cover certain Turner map pools, let's say OWC pool, we could tag the individual difficulties within a map set that was featured in a certain round of OWC or other tournaments. Or, for example, the bitmap spotlights, where we spotlight individual difficulties instead of a full set. Currently, it seems not possible to tag a single map set. And I was wondering why this is. Is there some kind of technical limitation, or is it simply something that's fallen under the radar and should be easy to do, it just hasn't been done yet?
Right. Well,
You mentioned the explicit tag also for the featured artist tag, you said?
Yes. So you can tag bitmap sets, right?
Yeah.
The song, for example, is from the featured
So
artist
is
library.
your purpose for this to have bitmap sets containing multiple songs in them?
No, so I would like a single difficulty within a set have the ability to have a tag that the other maps in the set don't have. Because there are cases where it's the specific difficulty that is noteworthy or important. For example, Turner map pools. We do not put a map set in a Turner map pool. We put a single difficulty from a map set into a Turner map pool. So having official support for tagging, for example, the World Cup map pools, featured maps, as such, would be cool.
So where would you see these tags? Like where would
For
you...
example, also web, where you see the set tags currently. If you go to also web,
Yeah.
you see the blue tag for featured artist sets, and you see the yellow tag for
Yeah, but
explicit
if
sets.
you're in a tournament spreadsheet where you have the map set there,
Yeah, but for example, if you browse the also web for bitmaps, let's say you are a less involved player who just looks for their favorite songs and favorite maps, and they see that tag on a specific bitmap, and they know, oh, this map is somehow noteworthy. And I think that is important, especially for the community, to give it the proper recognition for these maps that are deemed somehow above the rest, or somehow just being noteworthy, to have them that official tag, just like featured artists. Or even currently we have the green spotlights tag that can only be applied to a set, which currently makes no sense because we don't spotlight sets, we spotlight single difficulties within a set. So I would like to be able to have tags for those specific maps instead of the whole set.
okay, so it's like very specific tag because the explicit tag wouldn't make.
Yeah,
much-
obviously this doesn't apply to the current featured artist or explicit tags.
Yeah.
But it applies the current spotlight tags, and it also would pave the way for multiple other tags that I would find useful to
Yeah, I
be
think
implemented.
there's no technical reason we can't do that. It's just hasn't been done yet because those tags are kind of new.
Yeah, they
and-
are with the new also web, right? They were introduced.
And because, like with the explicit one, it's obviously
Yeah, it
applies
makes
to the
sense,
track,
yeah,
so
yeah, obviously.
But I think we can make that happen in the future.
Okay, because this is something we've been trying to push for several months now, or even years, with the new spotlights. This also expands to, we were talking about medals earlier, and we have
Yeah.
a bunch of completion medals for example, different featured artist map packs and stuff.
Yeah.
So we would like to have these completion medals for the new spotlights, where you have to play the actual difficulty we spotlighted, not just a difficulty from the set where the spotlighted map happens to be in, because it kind of is counterintuitive to get a badge for playing spotlight maps when you didn't actually play the maps that were spotlighted. You just played a different difficulty from the set.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. So the main goal here is, I guess the tag you want to see is the spotlight tag, yeah?
Yes, and the future, paving the way, when that exists, it's far easier to, imagine new tags that are beatmap specific other than set specific.
Yeah, I think, have you already made like a feature request for that?
How would I do that officially? Because this is something we've been talking about in the various Spotlight dev channels for a few times now.
I guess just highlight me.
Okay, so I will tag you on the dev Discord.
Yeah, because while I try and read every channel on that server, it's quite hard to keep up. So I don't really follow the Spotlight one that closely. But if you give me a yell, I can at very least make a GitHub issue on your behalf.
Okay, thank
to
you
track
very much.
the task.
Because I'm not a coder guy. I can navigate GitHub, but I do not have
no worries.
expertise to code editing. And it's been a little bit, I guess, frustrating having to hit my head against the so-called wall where people are saying, yeah, we should push for this, but then nothing happens. But I guess I was just the one who did not know how to properly approach this. So I'm very happy to hear that this is something that isn't like a technical limitation, simply just a matter of communication problems currently. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Enjoy the rest of the event.
Hello.
Hello.
So I'm a storyboarder, and as one, I'm just curious about any future plans for storyboarding, like whether there'll be any big revamps or will it stay relatively the same, especially in the context of laser developments, and if there are any ways I can contribute to this.
Yeah, there's a lot to say about storyboards, especially when it comes to laser, because the performance is bad right now. The editor doesn't exist right now. And like I feel very strongly about storyboards because that's one of the features I added to the game. It comes from actually DJ Max, which had some really cool storyboards. They did it in a very similar style to how I implemented it in OS, which is that, it's not just video, but it's actually individual animations, the tweets and everything. So that's where I got it from, and like because of that, it's very it's a feature I really care about. But we just haven't, because it's kind of its own system, and there's so much involved in it, getting it running well, and especially with now that we have 15 years of beatmaps that have taken this simple system and added so much complexity to it and done these amazing effects using such like the simplistic code, the simplistic storyboard format that we originally defined. And Stable somehow performs well with that, but we haven't got it to that level on Laser. And we're kind of addressing it map by map until we get it into a good place, and it's definitely not there yet.
Okay, so I'm assuming it's gonna be like on hold until there's more, let's say, attention to it.
Did you say on hold?
Yeah.
Smoogie once.
I was going to say that there's also like a lot of tools, community-made tools that are very useful for storyboarding. You can just like program the entire storyboard these days.
I'm doing that,
Yeah.
It's hard for us to match that level of quality without doing the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to get. I see value in having all the tooling for things like storyboarding in the game itself, and having it really well done. I think to make that happen in Laser, because we've still got so much else to focus on, we need someone from the storyboard tooling community, or multiple people from that community that are making these amazing tools, to step in and actually help out, to help bring that experience to Laser. We already have, our designer has already made some really nice looking, it's like After Effects level UI design for how the editor should look, but we haven't had a chance to implement that and give it the time it deserves. So yeah, to an extent it's on hold until we or someone else comes in and makes it happen.
Okay.
But in the meantime, because these other tools exist, I think as long as we get the performance of storyboards up to par, then
Okay. And where can I get like updates regarding these, or would it be the Discord server or?
yeah. Because nothing's happening on storyboarding right now, you won't be able to get updates anywhere, really. But
That's true.
I think
If I were to get
if you're
one.
interested in like ongoing laser progress, then the changelog videos that Pishy is making
Yeah.
is the best thing to keep up with. That summarizes everything that's going on.
Okay.
But apart from that, yeah, the dev Discord, or like even if you ask on the dev Discord about like the GitHub which issues are tracking storyboarding, and just make a GitHub account and hit the watch button on the issues just so you know when there is activity on them, that might be
Okay.
something you can look at.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hello. So I have a question. I'm a Mania player, and like I have a question about the Mania star rating. Will there be ever a rework? Because right now it's like only rating the density, but not really the patterns.
I don't know if there's a rework.
Hmm?
I don't know if there's a rework currently planned.
Oh, okay.
But I know that there are people working on it. There has been a change that was proposed, but it's not complete yet. And I think recently it's been fixed to not have so much variance if you shift objects in the map. But yeah, I don't know if there's any actual progress in the detection itself. There were a few people working on things like manipulation, like detecting manipulation, but that's kind of fallen out of sight these days. I don't know where it's at.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard to track the ongoing development of PP changes because they do it in like different servers, different Discord servers. It's very disparate and split over multiple places. So we've asked people to try and bring anything that's going on back into our main official Discord just so we have visibility, but it doesn't always happen. I think there is stuff going on, but I haven't seen anything related to pattern recognition in Mania. Hopefully someone from the Mania difficulty community is watching this and maybe can fill us in. Let us all know where things are.
I know that Apollo is here somewhere. You better be watching.
Is Apollo working on Mania as well? Yeah?
He's just like in that network. He's usually the most active one in that network, so.
I mean, I've made what may be considered a hot take, but things like Mania, Taiko, they basically, to an extent, should be able to share the difficulty calculation of OS, because it's just OS minus positional. I mean, Mania is a kind of a more complex case because there's multiple columns. But yeah, and the other thing is each game mode has its own meta. The community expects different things, so there's so many different things at play. It's very hard to make an objective. Everything is subjective at the end of the day.
I don't think that would be a hot take if every player was playing multiple game modes, right? Right now, each game mode is in a way like its own community and its own game as a whole, nearly. So, yeah, it requires more efforts.
And to an extent, that's one of the things I wanted to try and change with Laser, especially like, so going back to the scoring algorithm, we intentionally made it the same across all rule sets, all game modes, with the hope that people would be able to more easily cross over to different game modes, especially since Laser is allowing community-made game modes.
Yeah. I think that will really help, actually, because right now all the different game modes are so different. It's not always easy to adapt, right? But having more variety would maybe allow more people to find more game modes that suit them and get more involved, basically, in multiple game modes gameplay.
Yeah, but at the same time, like the reason we went back to Score V2 and have basically given up on this change is that each game modes community has such different expectations, and to an extent we've just given in. We know that each one's going to have to be different in its own way, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. That gives them personality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that's very important, and as you said, they're like, for example, Mania and Taiko. Yeah, they're all typing, right? But they like even the very controversial Taiko Mania skins, right? That basically transform Taiko into Mania. Even then, a Mania player may struggle because the patterns are just so different, right? So, yeah, it's always the devil lies in the details, basically.
I was just whispering to Smoogie. It feels bad because we haven't mentioned catch once.
Aww. Well, catch is another entire thing. It's really not comparable, but not in a bad way.
It's just a different kind of rhythm game. Rhythm game.
I mean, as much as Geometry Dash, am I right?
I have nothing against catch. I really enjoy it as a game mode. I'm just throwing shit here.
Okay, hello. So my question would be, let's say Osu Laser reaches a state where you would say that it's fine enough to get released to the massive public out there. If it replaces stable, right? Will the people that still uses the old stable client because they personally prefer it, whatever, will they be still able to, for example, sign into Bencho, or won't be able to anymore then?
Okay, so this is going to be a long answer from me, and it's one that I've had a long time to refine my response to because I've been asked it so many times over the years, and I think my take on it has changed as well. So when do I think it will be ready? Not considering performance, probably a year ago. Considering performance, last patch when we finally got things working really nicely, really smoothly. From a game balance perspective, it's going to be later this year. Hopefully, if we work through all the remaining issues. Like, we're kind of at the point where we've identified all the remaining game balance issues. And there's quite a few. Like, I'd say there's probably 50 things we need to work through. Both intentional changes and unintentional changes which we just need to fix. And even then, there's going to be edge cases. There's going to be specific beat maps which people are going to point out to us which aren't behaving in the precise way that... And a lot of these are going to be like Aspire cases and stuff, but you know, it's what the community wants, so we're going to have to do something about it. What was the last part of your question? Oh, a stable, can you still connect to Bancho and stuff? Yeah. So the last part of my answer would be that when Laser is ready is when users start to move over. Obviously, we need to get scoring online, leaderboards online, and then it's just going to be about how fast users decide to switch. We're not going to force it on anyone, as we did with... Last time we did a major change was in 2016, I believe, when we changed stable to use OpenGL instead of DirectX. 2014?
2015.
Somewhere around there. We did a change of the actual graphical backend, and the way we did that is we made a stable fallback release stream, and anyone that had a PC that couldn't handle the graphical rendering, we let them stay on the old one. That lasted about 4 or 5, no more like 6 or 7 years. We had
2015, so 8 years.
Well, yeah, but what I want to say is that until about 1 or 2 years ago, we allowed connections from fallback. So, and it was until my cutoff was that less than 0.7% of users, I think, were still on fallback is when we turned it off. So it's going to be about the same for Laser. We'll keep supporting stable until users drops below 1% or something.
Okay. One last thing. Is it possible if you can take a picture after you're done here?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
something I wanted to add is that actually you can still connect using stable fallback. It's just that not all functionalities work. And yeah, it has been 8 years since that fork happened, and that's kind of amazing. That is still working to some degree.
You can still connect.
I am pretty sure, yeah? Wait, someone correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed that.
I thought I turned it off, but maybe I didn't.
Well, we will have to check.
You can't, yeah, you definitely can't submit scores.
I think you can submit scores on older maps, just not the newer ones. Haven't we done that?
That changed about a year ago when I decided to actually turn it off. But you may still be able to connect to Banjo. Like, there's no technical reason why you can't connect to Banjo. There might be a few things which are broken, but
Okay.
maybe. Don't hold me to that, and don't try.
Would be interesting to check regardless.
Don't try, you might break things.
On the topic of game modes, have you considered adding any new game modes to OSU?
Yeah. So people aren't generally aware of this, but in Laser, you can actually make game modes. Any developer can make their own game mode. You just drop a DLL in the directory and it adds it to the game. We spend a lot of work getting, like, a huge portion of the Laser development cycle was creating that API, making sure everything's abstract enough that we can expand the game. So, because that was one of my goals with Laser, was to make it like not just a rhythm game, but a rhythm game engine and a platform which people could make new games. So we've already seen the community develop, like, there's about 10, 15 game modes which have already been made, which are very playable. Like, they're in the same state as the official ones. And the eventual hope is to have leaderboards for them, have a page where, like at OS Direct, where you can download different game modes. Multiplayer, yeah. And things like multiplayer, it would already work. It's already there. We just need to have the ability to make sure everyone's on the same version of the rule sets, and the rule set publishers aren't publishing dodgy code.
For the most part, it's just changing every usage of IDs to names of rule sets.
The technical part, but yeah.
That's a very insightful answer and sounds like something to look forward to.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
A lot of the rule sets, the game modes people have made already, obviously they emulate other rhythm games out there, and that's cool. And I can see why people are doing that, because that's basically what OS has always been. But I am still hopeful that we see some new new styles of rhythm games. Obviously, it's like a very saturated market. Everyone's already done everything that is perceivable as a rhythm game, like going as far as things like Geometry Dash, which are almost, it's like crossing over genres. But I'm hoping we'll see some new innovation, because I do like to see new styles of rhythm games, and not just like VSRG, which changed the visuals, like have notes bouncing everywhere on the fucking. I have nothing against VSRG.
We have arcade people right there.
It's just changing mechanics which aren't just visual impairing, changing how easy it is to read a map.
Are there going to be any more official game modes?
I actually have one I've been working on in secret. But I don't want to.
I don't know about this, so this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Yeah, I've only shown one of my friends. We'll see.
All right, this is more of a niche question because it only applies to people who have supporter. But I found that when it comes to just making your custom section on your profile page, well, a lot of people tend to make really, really long stuff. Like it gets pretty detailed. There's a lot of images, collabs, videos, whatever. There's just a lot of stuff. And when editing your profile page, it's just really not convenient because it's just basically a wall of white text. So is there going to be eventually something that just makes it easier to look at? Like,
this is user pages, was it?
Yeah, profile section on BB code.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just looking like for better editing functions for it?
Yeah, exactly.
More of a visual editor?
Of a visual, yeah, something visual, because.
Yeah. Because right now it's using BB code, which is like a very ancient.
It's not the fact that it's BB code. It's also because it's just there's no color coding. It's just all like everything you type is just the same color in it, and it's really there's a lot of clutter when you just try to look at it. Basically, that's how I feel like it is.
Yeah, I know. Currently, this is kind of a different thing, but there's currently work being done on the BMap discussion system to make the editing there better and to get more markdown features in there. So I think, depending on which direction that goes, the same changes might be applied to the profile page.
All right, yeah.
I know the editing experience isn't where it should be, and I think one of the major things I would want to see is the ability to upload images directly, like just drag an image in, rather than having to host them off platform. Because as we've seen, things like Imager going down the toilet.
Especially since there is like hosting in OS, so this could also work. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Before going to the next question, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to leave the couch because the next match is supposed to start in 8 minutes. I'm going to see how things are looking, but you may still continue asking and getting answers for now.
Thanks, Spoon. Keep up the good work behind the stage.
Okay.
It's my substitute, Poon.
Give it up for the Poon.
Yep.
Okay, so
Hi.
going off of a question before about tags, will there ever be an option to add tags for suggestive backgrounds? Because going off of my personal experience, like playing OSU in front of a general public who don't really know much about the game, seeing some of the backgrounds that some like maps have, it would be like I think useful to just have an option to either blur every background in the laser client or have a tag on a beat map that like marks it as suggestive, so when you play it or shows up in the play menu, it just blurs it.
Yeah. I don't know if I've said this previously at a Q&A, but I have an item on my personal to-do list, which is like have a toggle for Animu.
Yeah.
I think it's like toggle for Animu shit, which is basically like a way of a catch-all way of disabling any kind of suggestive, not obviously not all anime, but one of the common bits of feedback we get are people that struggle to get into the game or struggle to stay around because they're not really interested in the whole anime scene, and they want more of a professional, like just being able to enjoy the game without being in their face, you know, big. So in Laser, you can already blur backgrounds, but obviously that's not applied everywhere. For instance, if you're at the BMap listing, you're still going to be exposed to the imagery. I do think we'll address that in some way, whether it's blurring or whether we have a toggle which just replaces backgrounds with like a series of designed textures or something, just something to fill their place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see it happen.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get to the point of like tagging because we have the explicit tag, but that historically has only been used for the audio. Based on like we have a huge team of moderators, both community and I guess part of the OS team, and they all want to see this kind of tagging happen, like more metadata on maps, more tagging. So I think, and you know, these days we could just use an AI to figure out which backgrounds are suggestive and not. I know one or two people on the team that would jump on that opportunity to get their trained AIs used for such a purpose. Anyway, yeah, I think it will happen.
This guy's really taking the AI pill. You
I
can tell.
see.
I'm basically I'm very cautious on AI. Yeah, what I was trying to say there is that the RB Rat is like in over his head with like using AI to run our moderation systems and stuff, and it's, you know, it's interesting to see, but also I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
Cautiously cautiously pessimistic. That's a weird way of saying it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so my question is about scoring. I've seen that there's a lot of work going into Score V2, and I think I heard that laser scoring has or will be merged with Score V2. I'm not sure about that though. But what about the traditional way that there are 300s, 100s, and 50s, and they get multiplied by the multiplier, and that's the XOR. Why are you moving away from that?
Can you say the last part of that again? So
Why are you moving away from that scoring system?
Why are we not improving it?
No, why are you moving away from it? Like, why are you using Score V2?
Instead of the laser one.
No.
Instead of the stable, the
yeah.
V1. Yeah. I'm not sure where to. That's a very.
Like, why are you changing it?
Yeah.
What are the issues with it?
So the main thing with Score V1 was that it's runaway, like it gets very big, depending on the length of the map.
But why is that a problem?
Yeah. So that's one way of looking at it, is that why change something that people are used to. But over the years, it's been a sticking point. It's been something which a lot of people disagree with, the original scoring system, and Score V2 was our attempt to fix a lot of the issues that people had. And Score V2 has been embraced by the tournament scene. It's kind of accepted these days. So we felt like that's the correct direction going forward. The other thing is that, and this may give you a bit of comfort if you prefer Score V1, we actually have a toggle in laser to switch back to like a classic, and it gives you the same kind of feel as V1.
Yeah.
And since we've moved to Score V2 from the original laser scoring algorithm, it's actually matches very close. When you set that toggle, it's like within 5%, right?
Something like that. It depends on the map. It depends on
Yeah, so even though we switched to Score V2, we're able to offer both experiences. And that's just because Score V2 kind of did evolve from V1, and for the most part, it is very similar. Obviously, the way misses, the way max misses are used. Is it miss count in V2? I've lost track. The way combo is attributed to the score has changed a bit, and that is one of the remaining points of discussion. Is we're still going through that and figuring out if we want to change Score V2 to feel more like V1, as in you miss once in Score V2 and your score might be halved, like it makes it, and that works well in tournaments where people are generally not missing. But if you do miss, it's like the end of the play, and we've already got a change in the works which dials that back down to something closer to V1, and I think that's going to be something we address before we roll this out. So we're not going with, when we say Score V2, it's not Score V2 with no changes. We're actually evolving it a bit.
I wanted to ask more about why is it so complicated? Like the traditional way, you have the 300s, the 100s, and the 50s, and they get multiplied by the multiplier. Like, why do something way more complicated than this?
multiplying the scoring values by the combo, you mean?
Yeah, sorry,
as in Score V1, he's saying that Score V1 is actually quite simple because it's just 300 times the current multiplier.
Yeah.
That's it, full stop. But why are we switching to Score V2, which is seen as more complicated to potentially to a user?
I don't think it's that much more complicated than Score V1.
Yeah, so for me, one of the main things that, and I agree with you, because in the original laser proposal, it was actually simpler than Score V1 even, but it didn't feel good, and Score V1 to an extent doesn't feel good. Score V1 it makes it very hard to compare two scores. And it makes it very hard as a user to compare the same score across two maps. Like if they got 20 million on one map and 1 million on the next, you have no idea what that means unless you know the length of the map, how many hit objects there are. So I think Score V2 it at least brings it into a comparable state.
That's very true. Thank you very much.
I have a little bit of a different response. From a purely like programming level, like the implementation level of Score V2, I don't think it is all that much more complicated than Score V1. In fact, I think Score V1 is more complicated than Score V2 based on the edge cases that are in stable. Things like if you miss a slider end in stable, that's kind of a special, very special judgment that doesn't kill your combo, but it's not a miss as well.
Oh, I see.
But in terms of why going to 1 million score instead of this ballooning out numbers, I think that was your first initial question.
Yeah.
I have a bit of a different response to that one, which is that I think there's a lot of advantages to normalized scoring as well. Things like, what if you want to play with your friends on different rule sets on the same beat map in multiplayer? How do you compare those two scores? With normalized scoring, we can compare a million score in OS versus a million score in Tiger, let's say, right?
Yeah.
The other one is, suppose that an OS player wants to play Tiger or Mania, and they start to wonder why their score is suddenly not 130 billion, but 1 million. Obviously, you could make the argument of like, why not make Mania be in the billions of score as well? But
I mean, it's basically a different game.
It's what?
I mean, it's basically a different game, Mania and OS.
Being 1 million score?
No. It's basically a different game.
Sure.
Like,
Sure.
of course, the scoring will be different.
It's a different game, but it's part of the same ecosystem.
Yeah.
So.
One of our hopes is to allow multiplayer rooms, to allow different players in a multiplayer room to play different rule sets.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Kind of like a rock band where everyone's playing their own instrument and having it all work together, hear the hit sounds from each player. It would be really cool to see. So from that aspect, having a kind of a standardized scoring helps out.
Yeah, that makes very much sense. Thank you very much.
How much time do we have left? Do we need to like...
We're going to be the last two.
Okay.
I'll keep it short and simple. I have maybe more of a request than a question. Could we get a medal that is given towards the player that posts a score, completes the map on every single ranked map? Because I talked to Wolf backstage and he is still on the grind. He is still busy posting a score on every single ranked map in the game.
Yeah, so originally we had a special title for this, like the completionist title, but because we see more users going for this goal, I don't think we can keep awarding that title to everyone. It's generally only the first person to do it that we award it to. So I do think having a medal for that is, something we should have.
Cool. That was
Ephemeral, get on that.
Yeah. All right, Marty.
Hi. So my question would be, are there any plan changes about level? Because right now I think level is only based on your ranked score. Are there any plan changes to change that? Because I feel like it's very boring, like it doesn't say anything. If you're level 100 or 120, I can just go and look at your ranked score. I would like maybe a level to be more related to medals or like doing stuff in the game, like gaining XP, which would make it more fun maybe.
So, just to clarify, you're talking about the leveling system.
Yeah, account level.
And the fact that it's just based on rank score instead of...
Yeah, like if there's any changes that might come to that in the future.
Yeah. The leveling system is a very raw system. It was kind of added with the hope of doing more with it, and it's just fallen by the side. So, I'm not sure if it'll change from being ranked score. That depends on how Laser changes the
well, yeah,
ecosystem.
right. Because if it's capped at 1 million, then it's
so that's one thing. But I would hope that we can use the leveling system to like make unlocks in the game. So when a new player comes in, maybe they have to get to a certain level to unlock different mods, just to give some kind of progression to the game for new players.
Okay. And then also a quick question, because I was seeing the tournament before and they were playing on Laser. and I just noticed that you can get an S rank with a miss. Same as in Mania, I think also does that in other game modes, right? Have they changed that?
I don't think that's intention. Is that?
Currently, the way that the grades are decided in Laser is very primitive. It's just if you're over 95% accuracy, it's always an S. I still don't know what the path forward for that is. We've got ideas, but we want to keep it simple.
I think it will be changed.
Okay.
I think people don't expect to be able to get an S with a miss.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think we need to.
I agree with the letters being according to ACT, because I know the current stable, it's like about the percentage of 100s and 50s that you get, which is kind of weird to understand.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to match stable 1-to-1 because some of the conditions are a bit weird, but it definitely, S and SS shouldn't have misses.
Okay, yeah.
SS and Mania is also unachievable right now, so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I mean, it's achievable, but it's like super, extremely complex to do it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much then.
All right, so I have one question from the chat. Basically, are there still any plans to implement 1v1 matchmaking in Laser for multiplayer?
1v1 matchmaking?
Yes.
So an ELO system?
Kind of, I guess.
I have brought that up internally, and I want it to happen.
We have so many things we want to happen. I have a hope that once we're done this year getting scoring online, we can start to explore new things, because there's just I feel bad for not being able to provide new stuff to the community to play with in terms of like larger systems. So I have hope that we can provide a bit more in the near future.
I think a big part of that is deciding what the map pools should be. Other systems like the MadeBot have tournament pools that are submitted by players, like complete tournament pools. Whether we want to do that or gathering even those pools in the first place, or doing something completely different.
There's so much to consider. It's just about finding the time to make the system happen in the first place, I think.
All right, I've got an message from the back that we need to wrap it up. So I want to thank both of you for this very insightful and knowledgeable Q&A session. Round of applause. All right.
Thank you.
No problem.